you might not be actually programming their heart.
Right.
And the heart is where we're going to get that inner transformation, where we're cultivating it to be able to receive the seeds that we're planting of Christ so that they develop a relationship with God on their own.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good late night. Whatever time of day you're listening to this podcast, welcome to the Biblically Centered Podcast.
Yes, thank you.
We're happy to be here. My name is Johnny Jordan, and you are my wife, Danica Jordan.
Yes.
This is, which episode? Episode 11.
Ooh, pretty snazzy.
Let's see, today we're talking about our virtue, J.
Yes, Jay.
Yeah. Which J is what our last name starts with and what my first name starts with.
Wow.
Which is pretty cool. So this is a pretty meaningful episode for us.
Is it you've taken it to heart?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Do you want to do our mission statement first before we get into J?
Yes, I would love to. Biblically Centered equips your family.
Oh, you're doing this.
I'm doing it on the fly.
Okay, let's just maintain eye contact the whole time. Do it again.
All right. Biblically Centered equips your family with knowledge and conversations to live and defend your Christian faith.
Nice. Good job.
Thank you.
So yes, like we said, we are in Virtue J. We have a curriculum that centers around 26 virtues that you can teach to your kids from the time they can understand English to the time they exit your home.
Yes.
So, for some of you, that's about, 15, 16 years. For some of you, it might be a little longer.
15 or 16? When are kids leaving? Oh, like the comprehend. Okay.
Because if they're starting with their kids when they're 2 or 3.
Gotcha.
And then they're leaving when they're 18.
My gosh. Sorry.
Yeah.
That threw me off. I was like, our children are not leaving at 15 or 16.
Yeah, we're doing this old school. It's like you homeschool your kids and then you send them out in the world when they're 15. Tell them to figure it out.
Oh. Yeah, you gave me a heart attack. Sorry.
But we have a virtue curriculum that centers around these 26 virtues, which is fantastic. So today we're scratching the surface on J. Do you want to tell us what J is?
J, yes. And this is a part of our third category, which is about exemplifying Christ. So the other virtues, A through I, have been in 2 other categories. So we're starting a new category today. So it is Virtue J. We joyfully radiate hope because we've experienced God's grace.
I like that.
Yeah.
We've got a few definitions here. So because we do love definitions at Biblically Centered.
We do.
Because what is a word outside of its definition?
Right. And
meaningless fluff.
That's true.
And there's a lot of meaningless fluff out there.
Yes.
So we're going to define a few of these. Let's do a little back and forth. I'll start with the first one.
Okay, love that.
So I'm going to define joy. So joy is defined as the expectation of good, assured approaching possession of a good.
Nice. Hope is confidence in a future event, the highest degree of well-founded expectation of good, as a hope founded on God's gracious promises. The hope of the church is the Messiah, and it is also a belief grounded on substantial evidence.
And lastly, we have grace, which is favor, goodwill, kindness, the free, unmerited love and favor of God, the spring and source of all the benefits men receive from him, the application of Christ's righteousness to the sinner, a state of reconciliation to God.
Yes. So I feel like it's appropriate for this time of year to be talking about this one.
Absolutely.
Because I feel like 1 in 3 songs talks about joy, hope, or
peace.
It's not really grace, but peace. Yeah. And nice.
Yeah, I actually really love Christmas music, especially like the more theologically side of Christian music.
Yes.
Stirs up a lot of emotion in me for whatever reason. I don't know why. It's like kind of like a weird mixture of like the nostalgia of all the childhood memories of Christmas mixed with just kind of the whole, obviously, story of Christmas. So it kind of has the emotion is kind of pulling from the nostalgia, but then also the consistent truth of Christ's birth and everything. So, it's just, I do love Christmas.
Yes, and we play our Christmas music a lot.
Yes, we do.
Right now.
And thankfully, our kids like it. Every time we turn on
Yes.
music or get in the car or something, especially our daughter always asks to play Daddy's Christmas playlist. Because I made a Christmas... I'll do a little plug for it right now.
Do it.
Might as well. I made a Christmas playlist, 2 of them actually. One is called Flat White Christmas, and the other one is called Christmas Morning. So obviously the one we listen to right now is Flat White Christmas. So it's over 3 hours of Christmas music that I have carefully selected. They're all songs that I actually like. I actually went through a couple days ago because we've been listening to the playlist obviously for weeks now, and there's a few songs that I usually will skip over. And I was like, I'm just going to take those out. So I refined it a little bit more this past week. But if you go,
a few more fun ones.
I did add a few more fun ones. I added some NSYNC in there.
Yes.
But if you go Spotify and search Flat White Christmas, it's the one by Johnny Jet Plane because that's my handle on Spotify. So we listen to that. So that one has a wide variety. It has a lot of classic Christmas songs, a lot of new Christmas songs. There's instrumentals. There is this band I like a lot called August Burns Red. That's a metal band. And they have a Christmas album that doesn't have any vocals, so there's no screaming or anything like that. It's just the Christmas music. And there's plenty of people who aren't really big fans of metal who I convinced to listen to this album. And I had a friend text me a few days ago who he's not like a big metalhead or anything, but he was like, I had no idea how much I needed this album in my life. So it's great. And I just love it. And then
and still on the queue is the Christmas album that I grew up listening that I need you
to get some of those songs.
Yes.
In there. Yeah.
Please. CC and BB Winans. They
I think
need
you
to
say
be
BB
on.
and CC Winans, right?
BB and CC?
I think
Not
so.
CC and BB?
I think everyone says BB and CC.
I guess B comes before
Because
C.
it's AABBCC.
Anyways, Stephen Curtis Chapman.
Classic.
You need to get,
Yeah.
you need to get on there.
And then there's Christmas Morning, which we play on Christmas Morning, and that's a more consolidated list, and it's more so in the lines of just more like the classic Christmas songs. It kind of takes away the newer stuff. And that just is a callback to my childhood because just growing up in my or going to my grandparents' house for Christmas, just every Christmas morning, their house was cool. I mean, it was an old school house, so I say it was an old school house. They didn't have like all the modern tech we have now because this was obviously like the 90s and early 2000s.
Right.
But anyways, they had a record player, a CD player, and a tape deck in their living room, and then they had speakers that ran all through the house, so you could play music from there, and they would go through the house. So they would always, turn on a record or a CD of, just these old classic Christmas songs, and that's just what would kind of be in the background of the house during Christmas Day all the time. So I just liked it. So, anyways, love Christmas music. Apologize for those who maybe don't. I know that there are some people, even Christians, that's a surprise, but even Christians who don't particularly enjoy Christmas music, but maybe
you will find some new options that you like from the playlist.
I think so. I think it's a very nice playlist.
It is.
And it is intended to hit shuffle.
Yes.
So don't just start it from the beginning or else you're just going to get like 30 minutes of Frank Sinatra back to back. I didn't build it to be played like a CD playlist. It's like just hit shuffle and then let it do its thing.
But that also, our next episode is going to be a bonus Christmas episode.
Our Christmas special.
Yes.
Which I'm very excited for.
Yeah.
We're still working out some details on it, but it's going to be a lot of fun.
Okay.
It'll be a lighthearted episode, just something to hopefully, usher in the Christmas week and have some laughs along the way, some hot chocolate and candy canes and ho-ho-hos and...
I am making hot chocolate this week for our life group.
She does this awesome crock pot hot chocolate.
Yes.
That's really good.
It's really good. So, all right.
When I drink it, I imagine it's what the hot chocolate tastes like in
Santa Claus. Yeah, me too.
I mean, it didn't take you over 1,000 years to make the recipe.
It's shaken, not stirred.
Yeah. But ours is.
I don't really shake it. I do stir it. Yeah. I guess you could shake it.
But the flavor profile is what I imagine.
Yes.
I just need one of those really cool mugs that he gets.
Yeah.
So.
All right.
Moving on.
Yes. So virtue J. So hope always gives pleasure or joy, while wishing and desire may be accompanied by pain and anxiety. So just when we're teaching this virtue, we really are trying to define what does hope mean, in a sense that, honestly, Christianity is the only, I would say is the only true fulfillment of hope. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't think that anyone, they might be hoping for something, but it's probably more of a wish or a dream.
Right.
Whereas we have full confidence and hope in Christ, who has already fulfilled what needs to be fulfilled. So,
and it's not necessarily something that we have to get into on this episode, but at the end of the hope definition, it says it's a belief grounded on substantial evidence.
correct.
And we're believers, obviously, but specifically that there is substantial evidence that points to the validity of Christ and the resurrection.
Right.
It's not just something that we're wishing is true.
Right.
It's something that we believe there is substantial evidence that states it's true. And so to tie that with hope, it's the confidence of a future event.
Right.
Whereas a wish is like, more so like it'd be awesome if this happened, but really who knows?
Right.
Whereas hope is like, no, we have the hope
Right.
of this because we have evidence and faith that we believe that this is true.
Correct. And our faith, going to the word faith, we have faith that what we do believe is the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe, I don't know if we talked a ton about it in our virtue D, which was all about the Bible and prayer. I know we talked about like the fulfilled prophecies. Maybe next time around when we talk about D, we'll talk more about like authority of the Bible and how we believe that it is substantially there is substantial evidence to prove that it is true and valid. So yeah, our Christianity, our faith is not just rooted in a wish or a hope like this will be awesome and this really has happened and it will. No, we believe that yes, the things in the Bible have happened and those things promised will come to fruition.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Amen. Yeah, I like that distinction.
So, Hebrews 12:2 says, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross. Which is just, I think around this time, I mean, obviously Easter is more about the death and resurrection of Christ, but still, he was born into this world for that purpose. So, he took joy in that, even though it was really hard for him. But he took joy in knowing that he got to fulfill what needed to be fulfilled.
Yeah, I feel like that verse is a very, for as simple of a sentence it is, it's very short, but there's so much complexity into how do we apply that to us, and like what does that mean that the joy was set before him, so he was able to endure the cross, which we know is ultimate torture, ultimate pain, and he did that willingly because there was joy on the other side of it. Yeah. And it wasn't like he was, obviously he was in pain, and we know that he cries out to God and, basically says, if there's any other way. But it wasn't like he was, I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm trying to compare it to like the minor things we go through modern day, at least in our Western culture. I know there's a lot of people around the world all, going through different types of tragic events, but generally speaking, what we endure here in North America is relatively mild compared to historically what most civilizations have endured, and then globally what people are enduring. So we have it pretty good. And yet we still have joy set before us. Mm-hmm. So for us, the responsibility that we are carrying right now is raising our children. And so the joy that is set before us is the hope and the faith that they'll be raised in our home and given the resources to accomplish what God has put on their lives. So, but all that to say is for us as parents, that's partly the joy that is set before us in terms of raising our kids. Yeah. And so we should be able to endure the challenges that come with that because there is joy on the other side of it. Mm-hmm. We have 3 kids, 7 and under right now, and 1 on the way. I don't know if you can, the table's cutting off her tummy, but we got 1 on the way due in about 3 months. Actually, basically exactly 3 months.
Yeah.
And there can be a lot of stress, feeling like you're having the same conversations every day about listening and picking up and, being, doing work with a happy heart, these kind of conversations. But for me, this verse is a challenge because it's like, Jesus was able to willingly endure the cross because he knew what was on the other side of it. And that's ultimate pain. But yet sometimes I feel like we almost don't want to endure what we're going through, even though it's minor in comparison.
Well, I think, I mean, this is not to the full extent of what you're talking about, but you know, how many people your whole day, you're just like, oh my goodness. And then you get in your bed and you're scrolling through pictures of your children, you know, and it's like, okay, all day it was a fight for you to even be able to like interact or be happy with them, which, you know, some people do have those days. I do have those days. But if you can think about maybe that moment in the night where you're looking at those sweet moments and trying to remember those throughout the day, that will be of benefit, I think.
Well, and it's like, what was that statistic? And this is close to probably what the true statistic is, but I don't know what the exact number is. But something around the sound like by the time your kids are 12, statistically, you've already spent 80% of the time you're going to spend with them for the rest of their life.
Something like that, yeah.
Because obviously when they become teenagers, a lot more activities, a lot more things to do with friends, you know, different things that they're involved in. And then obviously they're progressing to graduation and moving out. And then you'll see them, you know, of course, every situation is different, but that's what they're just saying, statistically speaking. Right. By the time they're 12, you've basically already spent 80% of the time you're going to get with them for the rest of their life or the rest of your life. So
I'm just planning on living very close to all of our children.
Hope they have the same plan. But yeah, so you have 12 years. I mean, just for conversation's sake, to boil it down, you have 12 years of dedicated quality time where your kids are in your home and they think you're cool. I don't know. And then that's it. And then they're progressing on to develop a life for themselves.
And how many of those days do you wish away, or you wish away the morning, or just like, and then it's like, oh man, like that was today, you know? So I think just that can remind us, I mean, it goes back to, or I guess it speaks to a lot of our future virtues, but just being thankful, you know, for the time that we do have and spend your time well. One of our virtues does speak about that, and nurturing relationships. I mean, all these things work together to make sure that you are developing in yourself and in your children the desire to want to be around one another, but then to also just be really thankful for those. And it does get hard. We have a very ornery 3-year-old. But yesterday I called Johnny. I was in between running some errands, and Mickey wanted to talk to me, our youngest, and just his little voice just broke my heart. He just talks so sweet. So yes, the joy of your children, set that before you. And you know, sometimes they're going to be cranky, but ultimately God has blessed you with them, and he's blessed you as their parent. So,
and I would say too, just try to, I don't think we're saying anything revolutionary here, but just, you know, I know for me personally, the times that I feel like I get most quote unquote, maybe annoyed or irritated when I'm getting interrupted by the kids is if I'm in the middle of doing something on my phone, or, you know, already like, and a lot of the times if I'm doing something on my phone, it's probably not the most important thing.
Right.
There's an element because, you know, we have social media accounts for Biblically Centered. So some of my time is on there trying to figure out ways to, you know, grow your influence on social media, which is kind of like a double-edged sword because it's like you kind of love it and you hate it at the same time. But you can still, even though I'm on there for the purpose of Biblically Centered, you can still find yourself getting lost in the reels and the stories and just the other random stuff that pops up, and, you know, something you had no clue that you would be interested in watching. And next thing you know, you're watching this, and the kid comes and interrupts you while you're watching this random video, and you're just kind of like, for me, it's like you kind of have to make a mental check of like, if you're not using your phone for something productive in that moment, just go ahead and maybe set it down or set it off to the side. And just that helps me out, be with the kids and be more present. Again, like I said, that's not a revolutionary thought. I think anyone would understand that concept. But
well, a lot of the time when your children, maybe you do find them getting more annoying. I know for me, it's like when I'm trying to do something, maybe not selfishly, but like I'm centered around myself in that moment. And it's like, I was trying to do this, you know, and it's like, okay, but in the grand scheme of things, was that actually super important? Probably not. I mean, sometimes cleaning and yet, like there are some things, but most of the time it can wait.
Yeah.
So, all right. I'm going to keep moving on.
Okay.
Joel 3:16, it says, the Lord will be the hope of his people.
All right. And then we got an Old Testament verse in Deuteronomy 28:47 through 48. It says, because you did not serve the Lord your God with joyfulness and gladness of heart, because of the abundance of all things, therefore you shall serve your enemies whom the Lord will send against you, in hunger and thirst, in nakedness and lacking everything, and he will put a yoke of iron on... That's why you did that to me, isn't it?
No, I didn't know that word was in there.
I can't say that word. You say it. Say that word.
Iron.
And he will put a yoke of iron on your on your neck until he has destroyed you. I don't know why I just can't say that word. I hate it when I'm like trying to tell people like, like iron sharpens iron, and I just can't say it right. Never can. I don't know why. Anyways.
It's okay.
All right. So, you can talk about this verse too, but
sure.
I feel like obviously there's an element of this that is very obvious that the heart matters.
Right.
It's not just the task that we do, because you can do all the right things, but if your heart is in the wrong place, then it's for naught.
Right.
That is the thing that God cares about.
Yeah, it says out of your heart flows, or from your mouth flows what's in your heart, right? And so
out of the abundance of your heart, your mouth speaks.
Yes, there you go. It was there. But I mean, we see this in our kids, not often, but there will be sometimes that, you ask them to do something, then they'll stomp to do it. Mm-hmm. And then it's like, okay, nope, come back. Like, that's not actually how we're going to do that. We need to have a good attitude. Mm-hmm. And that just speaks to, again, we've already talked about this in another virtue, but how it's about their heart, not just the behaviors, right? Because if you program them to do the behaviors you want, you might not be actually programming their heart. Right. And the heart is where we're going to get that inner transformation, where we're cultivating it to be able to receive the seeds that we're planting of Christ so that they develop a relationship with God on their own. And so even though that's harder and it does take a little bit more mindfulness, it will pay off in the long run. And I think just getting them to know, we do everything as unto the Lord. It's not just for us or for one another, even though that's good to recognize, like, I'm doing this for someone else and serving them. But ultimately, it's for the Lord. Like, God gave you your family. And so you're doing it to your family, but to the Lord because he provided your family to you. And so, we just want to instill joyfulness into them, even though sometimes they probably won't show it right away. Mm-hmm. And that's like right now, our kids, we're trying to, I don't know about y'all and your kids and laundry. Our kids, we're trying to instill, like, you could wear a shirt 2 days in a row because we're just at home and it's the winter. And so like they did laundry the other day.
You wore jeans inside for 3 hours. They're fine. You can wear them again.
So especially our middle child, I think last time we did laundry, he was just like, why is my pile so giant? And it was like, because you never put anything back in your drawers, so we never know.
Actually, this time it was reversed because I did laundry with them yesterday.
Yeah.
And Annalie's stack was the tall one. And Everest, I was like, Everest, come to your laundry. She was like, I was like, come look at it. And he looked at it. He was like, that's it. And I was like, that's it. That's what we got today.
Yeah. As I was dumping Annalie's in, I was like, I think she hasn't double worn any of these things. Yeah. Like, especially jammies. I'm like, we can get a good 2 to 3 nights in jammies. Mm-hmm.
Some people probably think that's gross, though, because your body does a lot of weird things while you're sleeping. In terms of excretions.
Sorry. They're big T-shirts. They're fine.
I hate that word, excretions.
Ew.
You know there's another word I hate? Lactating.
Anyways, but a lot of times, and I know with our son, last time when I was helping with laundry, he was just like so frustrated and so upset. And, you kind of have to flip those moments and you're like, you are so blessed to have all of these clothes. Like, you could literally have 3 outfits and you would have to do laundry twice a week so that you could have something. But you have enough to wear clothes like a good week and a half, and you're fine. And you still have more clothes in your drawer. So just trying to flip that. I know sometimes that's hard in our Western civilization to grasp that we are blessed with so much. Like, it's sometimes makes me like sick how much that we really are blessed, just because, I don't know. That's just
a perspective that I like a lot. And again, I understand that there are these concepts out there. Like, I don't, like, I guess some of these terms can be more idealized and discrediting things that people are actually going through. And I don't want to discredit that, but sometimes perspective helps, because, like, especially for those of us listening, or, you know, in the Western culture, North American kind of way of living, like, there's a statistic out there that globally, if you were to boil down the globe into 100 people, and if you have a car, if you have
electricity,
running water,
like a fridge to keep your food cold,
internet, you are
like
one of the 100 people. So if you listening to this have those 5 things that I just listed, you are in the top 1%.
You know, there are these things that we think our number to other people, or this or that, and really we'll get into the like stewardship and our later virtues, but like, we have been blessed with so much, and I think it can be really hard to see the person who's like one step ahead of you or 2 steps ahead, and to compare yourself. But in the reality and speaking, if we have hope in Christ, like, that's all we need. You know, and it's hard, but
and it's easier, and I get that it's easier said than done.
Right. Yes.
Because,
but like, Johnny and I have been to Africa, Kenya, and then I've been to Uganda a few times. My dad actually goes there at least once to twice a year.
Shout out to his organization, bunch of
ragamuffins. It's either .com or .org. I don't know. Bunch of ragamuffins. Yes,
I'll probably get the actual address and put it here.
But he goes over to repair water wells. And so that's been really cool to like share those videos and pictures with our children and those stories, because I think it's really hard to kind of comprehend that. And even still, it's hard for them to comprehend that.
It is hard to comprehend. I mean, going there and seeing it for yourself is one thing.
Yeah.
You know, to not.
Well, for me, I was going to relate it to the joy that they have.
Right. Yeah.
Like, we would be in church service, and it's like, these are the most joyful people you've ever been around. And if you were in their position, you would think like, I live like that. Like, how can I even be joyful? And they're just joyful because their ultimate hope is in Christ, you know? And so I think, I don't know, if you're able to go on a mission trip somewhere like that, it would be phenomenal. A, for you, B, for your family. That's Johnny and I have talked about, like, what age will we be able to take our oldest, you know, and kind of start forming those things when they're younger. Because I didn't go until I was like 17, I think was my first trip, and it was very eye-opening. And I even think, you know, 12, 13, that would have been, you know, you have to find somewhere safe, but that would have been really good for me, I think, around that age. Because that's when I think kids start developing that, like, it's me, it's me, it's me. And you're like, no.
Yeah, and it is eye-opening. And just again, to see how thankful they are for the things that they do have, even though we would consider it to be a little. Yeah. Like, I remember one of the stories of, I think his name was Sam. Probably. Maybe he was the one who liked playing music on guitar. Oh. And one of the people on the trip brought him a guitar because they knew about this. So as like a gift, they brought him a nice, you know, professionally made guitar from America. Yeah. And I just remember like them giving it to him and him just being kind of overwhelmed, and then watching him take it, go around to the back of the church that we were next to, and then taking it out of the case and raising it to the heavens and thanking God for it, you know, for like 5 minutes. And it's just like that. Like, he was truly thankful for this. And it's like, how much?
Well, and he knew where to direct his thankfulness. Like,
Yeah.
he did direct it to that gentleman, but for his first step to be like, I'm going to take this to the altar to praise God, was like, wow, he ultimately knows where that came from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just like, how much stuff do we have in our homes, in our apartments, in our lofts, in our, whatevers, and that we just take for granted. Like, we just have so much stuff. And truthfully, we're not thankful for most of it.
Right.
To that level.
Because we're used to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
And but again, on the other side of that, it's like, I know that God gives us the ability to make wealth, and we're not speaking against that. It's more so just the perspective shift of realizing that no matter where you are now, like, you have enough.
Right.
And yes, it is okay to work hard and to pursue the things that God has put on your heart that might create more, but like, be entrusted with, God has entrusted you with what you have now.
Yeah.
So do that well, so that when there is the opportunity for more, God can trust you with that.
Well, and I would also like to speak back to this virtue. We have been entrusted with much so that we can show that hope to other people in what they're going through. And I think Christmas time is a really great way for that. I know some people do like the Operation Blessing boxes, or, giving to a nurse home, or choosing a child to sponsor or something. Those are great ways, thankfulness, to show that you are thankful, B, to think about, everything you are blessed with, and you're providing that for someone else. But ultimately, you're providing them hope around this season, which can be really depressing and really hard if they don't have hope or family or Christ. They don't, it can be a really hard season. And so that would be a great way for your family to show your thankfulness, to show that you can be a blessing, to use your abundance well, and then to point to the hope of Christ. Yeah. So it says we are to take joy in obedience of God's word. Joy is evidence of receiving our salvation. And as much as I think some people would say, like, oh no, I have to obey. Like, there is joyfulness in obeying and joyfulness in receiving instruction and doing it well. So, well,
it's kind of like the difference between conviction and guilt too. Like, there are convictions that come along with our faith, but ultimately the conviction should lead to the appropriate change associated with that conviction. And like there is a certain level of excitement, or I'm trying to think of, like, if you're in church and the pastor says something that you're like, shoot, I've been missing the mark on that. Or if you're reading in scripture and you're like, oh, okay, well, I've been taking the wrong approach with that. Like, there's a certain like level of like, okay, like, this is an opportunity, as opposed to like, oh, dang it, like, we want it to be as you. Because, Danica and I have been Christians for a long time, and there's still, obviously the times where it's like, oh, snap, or we're really missing the mark here. But the hope is that once that is a realization, is that as we take the steps to correct that, for lack of better terms, it's like there's a joy that's associated with that, because we're taking joy in the obedience,
right,
as opposed to doing it begrudgingly or just out of like, I guess I just have to.
Well, and because because it's a relationship with God. And so I think if you think about just your person-to-person relationships, like, what if you find out someone's favorite snack is this, and that's like, then you get to be joyful if you ever have an opportunity to like bless them in that, if they're having a rough day or something, like, you can see it from that, or you can see it as like a, oh, man, I have to change all the, and it's like, no, like that, like you're saying, it's a joy to serve God, and it's a joy to continue the work of transformation and sanctification, and also that gets you closer to Him, because you were saying guilt is a lot of like, I'm gonna be in myself and lonely, like, it can isolate you, and that's not what we want. We want joy to bring us closer to Him, through those things that, might be really tough to change, but there's a joy in knowing that we are getting closer and closer to pursuing holiness, which calls us back to our first virtue.
Yeah.
All right. I will wrap us up on one more verse.
Let's do it.
Okay. Romans 15:13. May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace in believing, so that by the power of the Holy Spirit you may abound in hope. And I think that's just a great verse that covers everything we talked about. He is the God of hope, and he is the one that fills us with all joy and all peace, particularly special around this time of year, I feel like. And so that by the power of the Holy Spirit, we will abound in hope. And I just love all of those things. It's like, I don't know. It's such a dichotomy from what the world, I think, experiences. And like, we get to experience hope. We get to experience joy. We get to experience peace. And those all come from God. So
and I think it's great. It's also a good reminder for us, that it's important, because we can have these conversations on this podcast and with ourselves and with our family and understand the concepts intellectually, but the important thing is that you allow it to get into your heart.
Yeah.
Because you want these behaviors to become an overflow of truthfully what's in your heart, as opposed to just it being in your head of always like, I just need to modify my behavior. Like, that's not really what we're seeking. I know we've said that before, but that's not, behavior modification is not ultimately what we're seeking. We're seeking it being a byproduct of the actual things going on in our hearts. So, like, we want not the knowledge of the joy in front of us to be the reason we parent the way we do. We want truthfully the joy of what's before us, like actually that in our hearts to be. And so, I think, that's just a good distinction. And, and again, like I said, I don't want any of these conversation topics that we talk about to discredit anything that anyone listening to this has gone through. Because I even those of us in the privileged North America, like, we all still have real struggles and things that we go through. So I want to make sure that I'm not discrediting those things.
Right.
I'm
just excited about this category. Again, Virtue J falls into how we...
I think you said virtue.
Virtue. Virtue J is the beginning of our virtues that exemplify Christ. And I think all throughout the New Testament, you could find that God, or Christ, when he came to earth, offered everyone hope. The woman at the well, our kids recently did that in their class, and just the hope that she had, and then her joy that overflowed to everyone. So just one of the many stories. So awesome.
Stepping into the Christmas season, so we're excited. Again, next episode is going to be a fun one, so don't skip it. It's not going to be, on our virtue topics, but it's just going to be a fun, lighthearted episode.
Should I still find definitions, though?
I'm sure we'll find something to define. But if you're looking for a little gift, we got biblicallycenteredmerch.com.
We do.
We got gifties on there. You can get some fun ones. There's some shirts for adults and kids. There's tote bags. There's cell phone cases. There's a poster on there you can get.
There is.
Hoodies. Hey. So, and there's going to be more coming on that. But get, it's Christmas season, so if you want some gifties of something that you're not going to get at Target, then that would be awesome.
Correct. All right.
Yeah, that's all for now.
Awesome.
Sweet. Thank you guys for listening, and we look forward to seeing you next time.